We are going to continue to hear some amazing stories, but now doing it through the perspective of our customers. So I want to welcome you to our first customer spotlight session for today. These sessions are super important because this is about learning from those who are already using Make in leading ways. This is a chance to reflect on the way you approach similar problems and get inspired to think and do differently. Because ultimately, we're all contributors to this community, and it's why we're all here. It's to be a part of that. And so with that, I'd like to welcome Jakob Zacherl from Bunch to the stage with me for a conversation. Jakob, so you have a very interesting job title. It is Head of Data and Automation. Can you tell us what that title means?
Yes, that's actually a very good question, because I do think it needs a little bit of explanation. So in many companies, data is usually synonymous to analytics, right? But at Bunch, we're not a SaaS company. We're an operations-heavy company. So data for us means mostly operational and product data that we need to streamline and then automate our operations. So in that regard, as head of data and automation, I work very closely with our engineering leaders, but also with our head of operations and our product teams to make sure that when we're solving problems, we're tackling them from a process and data point of view first.
That's super interesting hearing about how data really needs to come to life by pairing it with process, right? It's not enough just to have data or insights. It's about taking action on it. And that makes me think of some of the talks this morning around innovation and kind of how to transform your business. Can you share more about specifically kind of how Bunch is approaching the topic of innovation or what that means for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just give a quick explanation of what we do as a company for some context. So with Bunch, we're trying to bring the investment experience in private markets, so everything that's not listed, into the 21st century, because operators in this market, like for example, venture capital funds, they operate with tools from the 80s, which is a bit of a paradox if you keep in mind that they are actually often tech investors, but when it comes to adopting them for their own workflows, then they're not as enthusiastic. So as our main value proposition, we basically offer to be a partner for them to outsource their entire operations to us. And when we're thinking about venture capital funds and what their operations mean, that's basically anything that is not about finding an investment and evaluating it. So that could be calling capital from their investors, that can be preparing the reporting to their investors, but also dozens of filings and registrations that they have to do and keep in mind. So we take all of that off their plate, and we have a small internal operations team that needs to manage all of these tasks for all of our customers. And that's where automation comes in for us. So I think you can say that we're sort of a tech-enabled service business. And yeah, when you then think about what does that mean in terms of innovation for us, we found that we kind of have this three-layered approach or three-step approach where first we usually do stuff manually just to really figure out the processes and the intricacies of these processes and which data we need to then streamline and automate it in a second step. First, sort of internally facing for our operations team. And then once we have kind of automated the whole process, we hand that over to our clients as a digital experience.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm just thinking about kind of this financial industry, which is typically known for being much more traditional. And I think it's fascinating that you're basically mapping out their workflows and digitizing that through Make and other no-code tools. And And this morning you mentioned to me when we were chatting casually, you have this concept of a business engineer. Can you share more about that and a little bit about the structure that helps make this transformation possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started out building the company, we started with a pro code first approach, but we quickly observed that the pace at which our operations team were learning about new processes and new data points that we have to manage, it was just way faster than what our engineering team was able to keep up with. So we had this gap that we had to bridge in a way. And we specifically were looking for people that have more of a business background, some tech skills, yes, some foundations, but not a traditional engineering or computer science background, that come in and really understand the business very quickly and then use their tech skills and the low-code tool set that we have to bridge that gap effectively. And if you look back at the last 2 years, I think we've been pretty successful at doing that because we've been keeping sort of the usual growth rate for SaaS companies as a service company.
And can you share a little bit more maybe about kind of the onboarding or training that these business engineers go through? Like, how do you build that no-code mindset or that approach into kind of the way they work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it definitely starts with onboarding, or maybe it even starts one step sooner with hiring and hiring for the right mindset. We are definitely always we have that as our foundational pillar to our hiring decisions there. We are looking for super curious people that have also a large amount of intrinsic ownership and that want to solve problems with technology. And then usually from there, you just have to figure out for every employee sort of what's their level when they come in and give them the right tasks to embrace the tools that we have. And then usually the rest takes care of itself because they come in with the right mindset.
It makes me curious, are there some employees, like even if they're curious, that maybe are a little bit, I don't know, hesitant or nervous that they may not be able to sort of figure out, I guess my question is, have you noticed anyone sort of have an aha moment? And maybe when does that aha moment come for someone who's more of a business background person?
That's a good one. I would say the first aha moment is probably when they just look at past scenarios or existing scenarios and try to understand, okay, how does data flow from one module to the next one? And then what has helped us a lot is have them rebuild something existing where they feel very comfortable that, okay, this is not going to break anything. I have sort of guidance with this existing scenario. And then they really quickly understand, okay, this is how connections work. This is how I can set up filters and routing and so forth. And that usually, gives them the confidence that they need to tackle real tasks afterwards.
Yeah. I love that you shared that about having people kind of decompose or deconstruct existing scenarios. We've actually, we do the same at Make because we have people from all sorts of different backgrounds in terms of their computer science or familiarity with programming, and that's exactly one of the same things we do. So that's awesome. All right, we only have time for kind of one or two more questions. I want to pick the best ones. Let's see. AI.
Oh.
No? No AI?
One. No, go ahead.
Okay. Is AI playing a role in the automations that you're creating?
Absolutely, especially if you look at our industry. It's an industry that, as I mentioned, still lives with toolset from the 80s. That means a lot of documents and lack of structured data. So instead of having a JSON or at least a CSV, you get a PDF or maybe even just an image of a document. And you have to deal with this data structure. And AI has been very helpful to us to turn that unstructured data into structured data that we need to streamline and automate our processes afterwards. So especially in that data extraction part of the AI value chain, they've been, using these tools has been incredibly powerful for us.
Got it. And I'm curious, before you were using AI, were you creating those data structures, but just sort of, I'll say, more manually, or someone was having to do that work themselves?
Yeah, so the default, because it has to go into the database one way or another, or the fallback was to use manual data entry where necessary. We were experimenting with some sort of just OCR-based text processing, but it was difficult because there's so many edge cases, because every fund is a little different, that it's just difficult to generalize and have an automated process that covers 95% of it. And with AI, you just get with large language models, you just get a very wide range of flexibility when it comes to covering edge cases that otherwise would be very difficult to handle.
Cool. That was incredible. I have like 9 gazillion follow-up questions, but we have a jam-packed agenda today. I hope for those of you who were inspired by what you heard from Jakob that you come say hi to him and ask him your follow-up questions as well.
Absolutely. Please say hi.
Yes. So Jakob, I want to thank you for joining me here on the stage, and have a great rest of the conference.